Splatoon is a third-person shooter video game developed and published by Nintendo for the Wii U, released worldwide in May 2015. The game centers around characters known as Inklings, beings that can transform between humanoid and squid forms, and hide or swim through colored ink sprayed on surfaces using gun or brush-based weaponry. Splatoon features several game modes, including 4-on-4 online multiplayer and a single-player campaign. Splatoon received positive reviews upon its unveiling and release, with critics praising Nintendo's decision to enter the genre with a new intellectual property, the game's overall style and presentation, gameplay mechanics, and its soundtrack. Criticism was directed at the exclusion of voice chat and private lobbies, features that are commonplace in the genre of multiplayer shooters, the small number of multiplayer maps, and issues with online matchmaking. Splatoon debuted to strong sales, debuting at number 1 and 2 respectively on sales charts in Japan and the United Kingdom. 144,000 copies were sold during its launch week in Japan, and the game was the fastest-selling new IP on the Wii U in the United Kingdom. As of September 30, 2015, 2.42 million copies of the game have been sold. Gameplay. Splatoon is primarily a team-based third-person shooter which is playable by up to 8 players in online 4 vs 4 matches, although the game also features local 1 vs 1 multiplayer matches and a single-player campaign. Players control characters called Inklings, who have the ability to shape-shift between humanoid and squid forms. In humanoid form, Inklings can shoot ink in their team's color, which can be used to cover the environment or splat opposing players or enemies. Transforming into a squid allows players to swim through ink of their own color, even up walls and through grates, hiding from the enemy and replenishing their ink supply in the process. Conversely, enemy ink is much slower to move across in humanoid form and cannot be swum through in squid form. Players can use their ink to try and spatter their opponents, which will send them back to their team's respawn point whilst also providing a large splat of ink. In all modes, players can use the Wii U gamepad to view a map of the surroundings and instantly launch towards the location of another teammate, as well as use optional gyroscopic controls to assist with aiming. Players go into battle wielding a primary weapon. Each has differing statistics and traits, along with a secondary attack, and a special attack that must be recharged between uses by covering ground with ink. Primary weapons range from those resembling machine guns, shotguns, Gatling guns and sniper rifles, to melee weapons such as paint rollers, brushes, and buckets. Weapons are sold in sets that can be purchased with money earned from battles, with more sets becoming available to the player as they gain experience. In addition, players can customize their character with headgear, clothes, and shoes from the neighboring shops, with more items becoming available as the player's level increases. Each item carries a perk that improves the player's statistics, such as faster respawn time or longer special duration. Additional perks can be unlocked by gaining experience in battles. When encountering other players in the plaza, players can choose to order an item another player is wearing and purchase it the next day from a back-alley dealer named Spike for a higher price. The game also supports Splatoon series amiibo, with each amiibo type unlocking a set of missions which unlock extra equipment and a bonus minigame upon completion, which can be played on the Wii U gamepad while waiting in lobbies. Players can also make posts to the game's Miiverse community, which appear in-game as graffiti on various buildings. Multiplayer online multiplayer is split into regular and ranked game types. Each of these battle types goes through a rotation of 2 maps, which change every 4 hours. In ranked games, players gain or drop ranks based on consecutive wins and losses, ranging from C to S+. Having a higher rank increases the amount of money and experience earned after wins. Regular matches use the Turf Wars game type, in which 2 teams must attempt to cover more of the map in their own color of ink before time runs out. Ranked match rotations have used the following modes. Splat Zones is a King of the Hill style mode where the teams try to control designated areas by keeping them covered in ink for a certain period of time. A team wins if they get their counter down to 0, or if they have the lowest time remaining on their counter when time runs out. Tower Control in which teams must capture and escort a floating tower located at the center of the map towards a target at the opponent's end of the map. The winner is whichever team brings the tower all the way to opponent's end, or gets the closest to it before time runs out. Rainmaker is a capture-the-flag-like mode, in which players must capture the titular totem and bring it towards a target at the opponent's end of the map. The holder of the Rainmaker cannot super jump, but has access to a chargeable attack similar to the Inkzooka. In Battle Dojo, the local multiplayer mode, 2 players compete to pop the most balloons, with one player using the Wii U gamepad and the other using the TV with a Wii U Pro controller or Wii Classic controller or either controller in conjunction with a Motion Plus enabled Wii remote to recreate the gamepad's gyroscopic controls. Time-limited Splatfest events are also held in multiplayer play. Players choose between one of 2 teams, and earn points towards a player rank and their team based on their performance. The winning team, decided by popularity and overall performance, earns Super Sea Snail items, which can be used to respec and add additional perks to equipment. The losing team also gains some of the Super Sea Snails, but not as many. Campaign Octo Valley is the game's single-player campaign in which players must rescue the Great Zapfish, Inkopolis's source of power, from the evil Octarians. The player assumes the role of Agent 3, an unnamed Inkling recruited by war veteran Captain Cuttlefish to accomplish this task. Players use a default weapon for this mode, which can be enhanced with upgrades or additional bombs by collecting power eggs littered across each stage. The goal of each level is to navigate through enemies and obstacles, including spongy platforms, ink-eating robots and ink rails in order to reach the Zapfish at the end. Each level also contains a hidden sunken scroll, which reveal backstories and lore surrounding the setting of Splatoon. After clearing each level in an area, players face off against that area's boss in order to proceed to the next. Clearing each boss unlocks blueprints that can be exchanged at the weapons shop for more weapon options. Development: Splatoon was developed by Nintendo Entertainment Analysis and Development. In mid-2013, one member of the Animal Crossing development team, Shintaro Sato, created a 4 vs 4 ink-based territory control game set in a featureless arena. After management approved making the prototype into a full game, the team started expanding its concepts, creating the ability to hide in ink, and wanted to somehow incorporate squids. After coming up with these ideas, the developers had trouble filtering it down to a simple, fun game. Shigeru Miyamoto told the team that there was no appeal to the game in that state. Afterwards, the developers added the ability to hide in ink and verticality to the maps, but it still felt unfocused. The art director sketched different ideas for the player character, including animals, macho men, robots, and Mario, but the co-directors wanted to include a playable squid. They also needed the character to be human in order to hold weaponry, but thought that a squid-human hybrid wouldn't sell. In January 2014, they realized they could make the player character switch between human and squid forms, which allowed them to come up with other ideas, such as swimming through ink or sustaining damage while maneuvering in enemy ink. From the beginning, the gamepad could display a real-time overview of the map so the player could see which team was ahead, and at some point, the team considered using urinals and sinks as warp points. The development team was determined to make interesting sound effects, so they repeatedly pounded slime to create the sound of a squid diving into ink. The team working on the game is composed of much younger members compared to other teams that work on Nintendo franchises. Game director Tsubasa Sakaguchi and producer Hisashi Nogami admitted that they, along with the rest of the team, play first-person shooters and games on other companies' hardware as part of their job, and also because they love video games in general. Monolith Soft also assisted Nintendo on the development of the game. Splatoon was revealed in a trailer during Nintendo's E3 2014 digital event video presentation, and a demo of its multiplayer mode was playable on the show floor. The game's single-player campaign was further detailed in a later Nintendo Direct. Release. Prior to the game's release, A final multiplayer beta test known as the Global Test Fire was held on May 8 and May 9, 2015 and one 2-hour block on May 23, 2015. On May 15, on the Santa Monica Pier in Santa Monica, California, Nintendo held a special event called the Splatoon Mess Fest, featuring celebrities and an obstacle course inspired by the game. Fans could also play a demo of the game at the event. A collaboration with Masahiro Anbi's Squid Girl manga series was announced, which included free in-game costumes released on August 6, 2015. Splatoon outfits are also featured in the Nintendo 3DS title, Girls Mode 3, Kirakira a Code. In Canada, Splatoon-themed frozen yogurt was produced at various Yogurt's locations from June to September. Nintendo UK partnered with Adrenaline Alley Skatepark to decorate it with decals and props based on the game and install several Wii U demo stations for the summer. Nintendo of America and Nintendo UK held fan art competitions on Miiverse and Twitter. Wii U Deluxe set bundles with Splatoon included were released in North America at Best Buy stores Australia, Europe, and New Zealand. Splatoon Series Amiibo figures were released alongside the game, with boy and girl Inklings sold separately and a squid figure sold exclusively as a bundle with either the game or the two other Amiibo. Players who pre-ordered the game at GameStop received a download voucher for Splatoon-themed Mii costumes for use in Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS and Wii U in the United Kingdom. A lorry containing a shipment of special edition copies of the game was hijacked in transit, resulting in Game having to cancel all their special edition pre-orders. Additional modes, along with new maps and weapons, have been introduced to the game through timed updates. An August 2015 update raised the level cap from 20 to 50, added S and S Plus ranks to ranked battles, introduced new splatling and slosher weapons, private lobbies and party play, and added over 40 new pieces of gear items. Reception = critical reception = Splatoon was well received when it was revealed. Many in the gaming press were surprised that Nintendo was creating a shooter intellectual property and praised the new gameplay ideas that distinguished it from other titles in the genre. On release, Splatoon received positive reviews, receiving an aggregated score of 81% on Game Rankings based on 55 reviews and 81/100 on Metacritic based on 78 reviews. Games Radar gave the game 3.5/5 stars, praising the game's refreshing take on the shooter genre, while criticizing some elements such as lobbies and Amiibo-locked content. Game Trailers gave the game a score of 8.4/10, praising the game's mechanics and presentation, while lamenting that the game felt sparse at launch. IGN scored the game 7.9, praising the gameplay but criticizing the current lack of content and absence of voice chat. Some critics expressed displeasure over the fact that communication errors cause a loss of points in ranked battles. Destructoid gave the game a score of 8.5, arguing that its shortcomings can be forgiven in my mind because of how damn fun it is. Nintendo Life scored the game 9 stars out of 10, considering Splatoon one of the most fun online games available because of the unique way each online match played out due to the ink mechanic, which also helped counteract potential boredom from the low number of maps playable at launch. Writing for The Guardian, Kate Gray praised the visual style of Splatoon for contrasting realistic shooter games such as the Call of Duty franchise with a 90s cartoon aesthetic, citing influence by games such as Jet Set Radio, Super Mario Sunshine, and The Blob, along with a catchy soundtrack. However, Gray noted shortcomings in the game, such as a lack of multiplayer maps making the game feel repetitive, matchmaking issues, as well as the lack of features such as voice chat and private lobbies, but defending the criticism by arguing that it was Nintendo's first game in a long time that's really attempted to revitalize and reinvent a genre that often seems stagnant. This sort of daring creative venture will have its flaws, and if anything, we should be glad that ETA unregistered trademark as Nintendo taking the first step into new territory. Gray concluded by declaring Splatoon to be a breath of fresh air Euro, or more accurately splodge of fresh ink Euro for those who like to shoot stuff, but have grown tired of the endless bloody churn of gritty, realistic shooters. Sales Splatoon debuted at number 2 in the UK software sales chart in the week it launched, only behind The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt. It is the 5th fastest-selling Wii U game and the fastest-selling new intellectual property on the console in that country, beating the previous record set by Ubisoft's 2012 launch title ZombiU. Splatoon debuted at the top of the Japanese software sales chart, with over 144,000 physical copies sold in its launch week and a total of nearly 750,000 sold by October 2015. In the US, 165,000 combined physical and downloaded copies were sold in May, with another 290,000 sold in June and 85,000 in July. By the end of August 2015, over 600,000 copies had been sold in the region. By the end of June 2015, 1.62 million copies of the game had been sold worldwide, and by the end of September 2015, worldwide sales reached 2.42 million. Accolades. References. External links, official websites for North America, Europe.